everyone. I'm sure you had a lovely week so far. Our facilitator this morning, as you would have guessed, is Safiyyah. And she'll be taking us through chapter 3, 4, and 5. For those that did not read chapter 3, I take responsibility for that. But I'm sure you find it insightful when Safiyyah talks through it. And I hope you all read the book this time. All right, Safiyyah, take it away.
All right, everyone. So I hope you're doing well today. We are going to discuss chapters 3 to 5 of I Do Not Come to You by Chance by Adaobi Tricia Nwaubani. I am not going to ask who's read the book because I don't know. I don't think it is worth asking. So let's do a little bit of recap. Why is my slides not moving? Okay, right. So remember Kingsley Ibe, the protagonist. I'm just going to ask the room, does anybody else remember any other character? Please just unmute your mic and go ahead. Or will it be easier to call names? Afalabi, hi, good morning. Okay, Afalabi is not with us. Hello, Timi Akbino. Do you remember any other character in this book so far?
Good morning. I didn't read the chat this week.
Okay, how about anybody from like the first chapter or the prologue?
None.
None. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, we can raise our hands. Who wants to help us? Who remembers any of the other characters? Okay, Sydney says Ola. Yes. By the way, I mean I realize Ola is an Igbo name in this book, so I don't know if I have the pronunciation correctly.
Ola.
Ola. Thank you. All right, so we have Ola, we have Paulinus, Augustina, his parents, we have his siblings, Godfrey, Charity, Eugene, and a host of others. Sorry, just a sec. I can't see my notes, which is a bummer.
All right, while you're looking for your notes, please, who is Tosin Offer Pilots, please? I sent you a DM, so Safiyyah, you can go ahead. I'm sorry.
Just a second, please. I'm trying to access my notes. I don't know why I can't. Okay, Ayotunde, is it okay if I share the deck with you?
That's fine.
Please bear with me.
All right.
Okay, so if you kindly share your screen, I think it would be easier for me. Thank you.
All right, no problem. Now you can go ahead while I walk around us.
Okay, all right. Thank you guys for your patience. So in the first couple of chapters, we meet we sort of learn the story of Kingsley's mom and how she meets his dad, right? Kingsley's mom, Augustina, lost her mother at childbirth. She passed away, and Augustina now had to live with different members of the family. And at her uncle's house, while she was staying there, she met her husband to be, engineer Paulinus, or is it Linus? I don't know. Anyway, so they get married, and unfortunately, it wasn't like happily ever after. They were both educated, well educated, but they didn't do so well financially, because of largely because of his father's illness, right? Another thing that we learn about this family is that they value education the most, like the most important thing that they prioritize and they want to give their kids is a good education. And we also learned that Kingsley's just finished school and he's been applying around for jobs, and recently he got yet another rejection. Next slide, please. So to begin chapter 3, we sort of learn about Kingsley's trip, going to visit. So he needs a little pick-me-up, right? After his rejection letter, he wants to go see his girlfriend, Ola. Is it Ola? What's the pronunciation again? Sorry.
Ola.
Yeah.
Ola.
Ola, yeah.
Thank you, my Igbo peeps in the house. Okay, so Ola is in school in Owerri. And we see that it's like a 90-minute trip from his house in Umuahia. We also learned that this was in the 90s. So I was trying to glean what year this was all happening. So it was in the 90s because it was mentioned in the book that Abia State had just been carved out of Imo State. So I found that interesting. Yeah. And, another thing that, I was really trying to get a feel of the scenario, and we saw that, okay, while he was trying to get in the transportation car, the vehicle, somebody was like trying to pay with coins. And I was like, what year is this exactly? So yeah, a lot of interesting things were happening. And another marker of like the scenario was that this was the first mention of a car, and they mentioned that it was it was a station wagon. Let's see. Yeah, 504 station wagon, that was the mode of transportation to Owerri when he was visiting. And we sort of learned all the different people in the car with Kingsley when he was making that trip. And they mentioned one woman who was eating boiled egg in the car. I don't know, is that normal? I mean, I have met some odd people from time to time in like buses and stuff, but they said one of the women beside him was eating boiled egg. So that was interesting. So away Kingsley goes to Owerri amidst all the craziness. Next slide, please. So Ola, remember Ola, the love of his life? She's 2 years younger than he is. She's still in uni. She's a lab tech student, and she's one of 5 girls. We sort of, we've met her before, but we sort of learn more about her, about how, she has these pictures in her room. They went to Mr. Biggs, and, they had a nice time and all of that. And, she's this striking beauty, dark skin, Igbo babe, right? So, Ola, next slide, please. So, on his way to meet Ola, Ola was like, she was on his mind, and he remember how the warm reception he would receive from her, how she would hug him. And also I made this slide of like Ola of before and Ola of now. So, he gets to her school, to her room in the hostel, and she gives him this cold shoulder throughout, this cold reception. And he also noticed that, she has a couple of new things. And even later on, he gets to notice that the pictures that she used to keep of him in her room are no longer there. Next slide. In fact, the apples that he brought on a normal day, she would have, been so grateful for. She did not, respond so positively to. So my question to the house, could Ola have just been swamped with her projects and school, or is it a loss situation? Please, I'm asking the house, please. Let me check the chat. Okay, so I can see 2 people, 3 people said she's gone. No, and she did mention that this is her like project time, and she was not. So I don't know. I want to hear from the house. Why do you think she has gone? Why do you think it is a support loss situation? Please, you may raise your hand and answer the question.
Yeah. Sorry, let me speak. I wasn't even muted, sir.
Okay.
Sorry, can't find the raise hand button, maybe because I'm sharing, I'm doing plenty of things. This one is a OT loss situation, and I'm saying this because of the context of the book, right? First of all, how his picture just all of a sudden disappear. That's number 1. Number 2 is in the context of the book again. They said Ola was wearing one fine shoe, Gucci bag, all those nice things in life. I'm sure one boy just mesmerized her. And sorry for those that don't.
Hey, thank you, Ayotunde. All right, fair enough. He was really disappointed with her reception, right? And she just told him that, look, my mom doesn't like you. She has some issues with you, and that was just on his mind all through. And then he made his way back home. So some things were happening at home. Next slide, please. Where his parents were watching the news, right? First of all, how come Abacha's loot has been making the news for how many decades? I was so surprised and taken aback that they are trying to recover Abacha's news. Abacha's loot. So I don't know, would you say that our local news, our local news is worth following? Please let me see your thoughts in the chat, or if you want to speak. Okay, hello, Vincent Ibikunle. Go ahead. Go ahead, Vincent. Vincent, you're still muted. Okay, Jemima in the chat says it's hard to follow the news because of the low quality production. And Olaolu agrees with her. Is the news worth following? And one of the reasons why I ask is that we see that Kingsley's father was always annoyed when he watches the news. Does anybody here follow the local news? Or apart from Vincent?
I do. How do you know that I follow the local news?
Because I have juju.
I do. It's nice to follow the local news. I still do. So,
All right. Thank you, Vincent. Afolabi said back then. Is it back then in Kingsley's time in the 90s? Dun, 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 dun. So yeah, we get to learn that there is a fatal car crash, in the governor's convoy, and that there was an injured woman. And they mentioned that the medical bill of that injured woman will be at the governor's expense. And this really angered Kingsley's dad, because it was like, this is taxpayers' money. For me, I was now confused that, okay, whose money are they supposed to use to, take care of this injured woman? Please, I want to hear our thoughts. Yes, Ayotunde, please, your question.
My question. When you say local news, yes, what do you mean by local news today? Right. Arise would you consider as local news? Would you consider channels as local news? Would you consider AIT as local news? I'm not saying NTA specifically, but yeah, I guess that's my question.
Yes, I consider all of these stations that focus on our country as local news.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. So, Kingsley's dad, Engineer Paulinus, was not happy that they were going to get help for the woman and cover her medical expense. With the governor's. Sorry, I'm distracted. The governor is going to what's it called? Shoulder her medical bill. Is this wrong? Why is Engineer Paulinus angry at this? Anybody? Whose money should they use to cover her medical expense, please? Okay, I think people don't really have any thoughts to share, so I'll just move forward. Anyway, that was just part of the book that struck me. Next slide, please. Okay, Just Ayo says governor can use his own money. Doesn't mean he's taking out of taxpayers' money. Maybe they have not paid him salary for like 4 months. Well, some people are saying government's money. All right, no wala. Anyway, so
Sorry,
usually
okay. I can't raise my hand, maybe because I'm presenting.
Okay.
So there's a news that made the round recently. Again, when it comes to again, that's why I asked local news. The newly elected governor of Rivers State. So I was following the news commentary, and then the news commentary basically just said he said in news that he made some time to go and visit his daughter in her sort of like end of term or end of session activities, right? And I think someone asked him, why is your daughter not in a public school? Again, that narrative. And he's like, it's almost, I can't remember the words exactly, but it almost sounded like it's none of his business what he does. What kind of school his daughter goes to, right? And then the commenter or the news analyst was saying basically that, he could have found a more diplomatic way to do it, right? How do you now, I guess where I'm going is, how do you now separate what is government's money from what is governor's money? Now, governor as a private person or a private citizen of the country, because to get there, you probably have a decent amount of money, right? But we know that most times, or well, we assume that most times, once governor spends money, taking from taxpayers and the coffers. And I guess Kingsley's father's grouse was his core value, if you will, one of his core values on integrity, right? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Ayotunde. I just remember that as well. Kingsley's father was a civil servant, and I think his mom was as well. And anytime like that, that came up, they will say how, he could have made money, but he decided to stay honest and all of that. So yeah. So thank you. We can move to we're already on the next slide. So anyway, normally on a normal day, Kingsley would have like joined the conversation and added his thoughts, right? But Ola was still on his mind, right? She had given him some premium breakfast and he was in a state of anguish, and he kept worrying that, okay, the last thing she said to me is that her mom doesn't like me. How am I going to solve this? How am I going to solve this? So next slide, let's meet Ola's mom. Right. All right, so Ola's mom is someone we get to learn that she has five daughters, and that her husband left her, right? Because she was only, in quote, producing daughters. And then we got to learn that before her husband left her, she was a housewife, and afterwards she became like this really dedicated business owner. I think it was a pepper soup joint. I'm not sure. Anyway, so I'm going to ask this question, and I really want us to engage, guys. Is it common for spousal betrayal trauma to serve as a livelihood turning point for African women who are cheated on? So what I mean is women that they cheat on, right? They are betrayed by their husband. Is it a common thing to see them now become like entrepreneurs, or like just change their livelihood decisions and careers and all that based on this betrayal? What do we think, guys? Please raise your hands. Hi, Vincent. Go ahead.
Yes, what I would just say is that was it be only for the women? Why not for just them? Anybody can get served breakfast and from there decide to change some things about himself or herself. So I don't think it should be only for the women. I think most often times after breakfast, we tend to go back and now think, okay, what can I do with myself? Just maybe before you are not thinking straight. But this breakfast and routine have a way of helping you to sit down and rethink your life and see what you can do about it. So I think it's kind of normal. It's kind of normal to have a rethink and probably want to do something meaningful with your life. It's possibly normal. So I wouldn't want it to be just in terms of women. I think it's for everybody. That's for me.
Right. That's very valid. Thank you, Vincent. Jemima?
Yeah, I mean, what Vincent said is valid, but I feel like it's not a conversation that needs to necessarily be had, because especially the time that I assume, I've not read the book, unfortunately, but in the time that I assume that this book was set, it was obviously a time where it was, very vehement patriarchy. So if a woman had to leave her husband, it was not only just a financial hardship for her, it was also stigmatization, and she was just seen as less of a woman because she can't keep a man, right? And that still happens till today. Oftentimes, a lot of people that I know who have, left their marriages, even if the man was in the wrong, she's seen as whatever, sort of negatively, right? So and what I want to say is that this livelihood turnaround, like I said in the chat, for women either happens negatively or positively. And that's why I'm grateful to my mom, because my mom keeps telling me that, Jemima, never marry without money. Even when you marry, have your own money, because anything could happen. Your husband could do anything could happen, then you have to leave, and then you're left on your own. And I mean, I think it depends on the person as well. So yeah, depends on the person as well. Some people would choose to not choose, but some people will be resourceful and become serial entrepreneurs to take care of their children, because women oftentimes run with the children. And some women may not know where to start, may not have people to help, and then they're lost and struggle and everything.
Excellent. Thank you, Jem. So, I mean, you already even spoke to my other question, which was going to ask that how does it affect Hey, see it. How does it affect how women are raised today? And yeah, I mean, you gave a brilliant example of how, I mean, your mom gave you some advice based on this. So awesome. Yeah. Next slide. Oh gosh. Okay. So Ola's mom is deserted by her husband. I mean, after, trying for a male child. What's the impact of such gender biases on society today, even then? I think we've touched on it a bit, but in case anybody still has more to say.
So I think it's still, I mean, the impact is still huge, or well, maybe relatively huge. I think people are coming out of the traditional or cultural condition or conversation to say that if you don't have a male child, right, nobody's going to take over your wealth or your heritage, as it were. And the only thing I think people are still worried about is taking on your name. Your name will die with you if yeah, it's archaic, but people still hold sway around it. Again, people also fail to realize that it's the man that determines whether you have a male child or not, right? And people have failed to, well, a few people who are always looking for, the male child have failed to realize that if a woman does not produce, then it is her, I mean, it is his fault, right? I mean, knowing men that have jumped, apologies for the term, but jumped ship a number of times only to be producing girls everywhere, right? But it still is a truism in our culture and and some of our biases, basically.
Great. I mean, and it actually even happened in the book. After the husband married another lady, and they had 2 more kids who happened to be bouncing baby girls. So yeah, that happens. Next slide, please. All right. So I mean, so basically, Kingsley, this is his trip to Ola's mom. He decides to walk, so obviously it's a trekkable distance. We learned that the town is largely populated by civil servants and traders, and that the highest that they can aspire to was a Mercedes-Benz V-boot. So I mean, I was curious and I went to Google what a Mercedes-Benz V-boot. I don't know if this is correct, but I tried to check. And I noticed that this is the 3rd time, I mean, since the book started, that we see a car as a marker of socioeconomic standing. Are there other markers, I mean, that may have not been in the book that we can say are markers of socioeconomic standing? I mean, as marketing professionals and comms professionals, I think this is something that that should come easy to us.
Safiyyah, please, can you take your question again, please?
Yes, so I said this is the 3rd time that there was a mention of a car, and we sort of see it as a marker of socioeconomic standing. What other markers can we mention that may or may not have been in the book?
In today's world of the book?
In generally, either or both.
I mean, I guess it goes without saying. Today, you have to have a certain type of car, right? Yeah. So if you don't, I mean, if you don't have it, if you have a Benz, for want of a what better word, a modern Benz, right? So a particular year upward, a particular style or design. If you have a range, so first of all, you have to have a car. Now, not just any car, a car that looks good, that looks, maybe 2000 and above. I hope 2000 is still qualifies, because that's 23 years. You have a house, the way you dress, the way you talk. Well, maybe the way you talk doesn't necessarily mean, because there's some people that don't have Queen's English, but they have all the chains in the world, their neck, on their wrists, their perfume. There are a lot of markers. Where you live, I think that's one is one that a lot of people like to do in Lagos. So where do you live? I live on the island, right? And we've heard the stories of people that live in their cars on the island, right? But they live on the island. Just that the island doesn't have address.
All right. Thank you, Ayotunde. Yeah, so they mentioned this car and they said like this is the highest that anybody can aspire to as like a trader or a civil servant. And anybody that even has that car must be into 419 or dealing human parts, which is very interesting. And let me tell you, there's a bit of foreshadowing here because there's going to be more talk about 419 later on in the book. And I also got to know that, did you guys know that 419 actually comes from section 419 of the Nigerian Criminal Code, which deals with fraud. So that is where 419 comes from. Anyway, you're welcome. I just like all these like little bits of information that I could learn. Next slide, please. So basically now, Kingsley is finally at Ola's house, and there's this interaction between him and Ola's mom. And excuse me, Ola's mom's reaction or reception is definitely icy, very cold, and we could see like traces of anger and just like him, being sort of maltreated, so to speak, or disrespected. And we get to hear some of the things that comes out of her mouth, like, when are you going to like take care of my daughter and all of that? Other men are finding their way, right? So I want to ask a question for cultural norms, right? Does Ola's mom's desire for her to marry a financially stable man reflect like our values as a society, or is Ola's mom just being greedy?
So sorry, is the ideas of my hand.
No
So
problem.
would you like to give your daughter to a man that that's not financially stable? It's a question because because it's just it's normal to say that, oh, as a young man, I want to marry my daughter. What are you doing? which I feel is the norm out there. You can't come now and say that I'm not doing anything. Because you must have something, a prospect that we are looking towards. Yeah, you must have a prospect. So I don't think the woman is out of place. Yes, I think what was we were talking about our rationale. Yes, probably she's looking for a well-to-do man or this kind of thing. But I think still, you must be doing something. At least something enough to take care of your family. That is for me. I'm not looking at maybe she's trying to see whether the guy is very wealthy to take care of the daughter and even the extended family. But I know that for you to get married to anybody, even though these days we know that it's more of a collaborative effort, both the husband and the wife must be able to put heads and hands together, fine. But still, the man has to do something. Maybe what she was saying now is thinking not only her daughter, also of the relative.
All right. Thank you, Vincent. Hey, maybe. Please go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. I feel the mother is just being a normal mother because they have this mentality. They were once young children or young adults, and I'm sure she had seen that most young male don't really, at that point of their life, they don't really have, how would I put it, a goal. They're just living their life until life hits them and they'll be like, okay, and that is when they are really getting old. So she feels, I don't want my daughter, just like normal protective instinct. I don't want my daughter to get married to one of all these plenty useless boys because she feels every young adult is not thinking about their life. It's just, they just want to right now it's just love that is shacking them. They don't know what is happening and so on. So she's just trying to, she might not want, how would I put it? It's not as if she doesn't want her daughter to marry the guy, but in a way she's trying to put that, come, if you're going to marry my daughter, you have to have sense. Even if you don't have a job or whatever, just know that you are supposed to be thinking of getting a job.
Thank you, maybe. I mean, and we also learned that actually it's not like Ola's family is affluent or well-to-do. So, I mean, it made me wonder that do poor people have a right to reject suitors, or is this only for rich families? Wow, I'm seeing different things in the chats. Hi, Justiria.
Yeah, hi, Sophia. Yeah, poor people have a right to reject suitors. I mean, rejecting suitors doesn't necessarily have to do with your financial status as a person. If I don't like you, I don't like you. Don't disturb me, Avik. So, I mean, everybody has choices. I'm also an advocate for parents should not be putting out into what their children want to marry. But yeah, that's a different topic.
All right, thank you. So we move on to gender role. I mean, we also hear some of the things that Ola's mom said, and she was like, at this point, I thought that, I mean, I will be resting, that Ola will marry and, you know, her husband will be taking care of us, that she not tried. So I wonder, like, are men really obligated to look after their wives' families? What do we think? Vincent again, loving this. Hi, Vincent.
No, I will not talk again.
No, Vincent, you're very passionate about what we're talking about. Let's hear you.
I'm very sorry. Okay, so are men obliged to look after their wives?
Their wives' families.
Wife families.
Yeah.
Africa, well, our cultural settings seems to paint it like that. That is the way our cultural settings seems to paint it like. But of a truth, man, seriously. You guys don't want to
Please translate for,
You guys don't want to kill the what's called the donkey now, because it's but naturally speaking, that is the way it is put there is what most people think of it like. That's why you see that if you go anywhere, they really ask you what we are doing, because they know that at the point they want to come to you. But I think these days people are kind of realizing, and this goes because I was discussing with a trader in Yaba the other day, and he was saying that he wants to take care of his children, he wants to buy laptop for his children so that his children would start Yahoo kind of thing, so that he can make money, or probably buy football boots so that the guy can play ball and become like Messi or Ronaldo, so that he can make money, take care of himself, take care of people. And I'm like, what if the person you get all these things for, after I acquire all this thing, did not take care of you? Say, are you swearing for me? And I'm like, no, I'm not swearing for you. That it is just these days. The norm is that you will take care of. So people also think that as a man, you married from a family, a wife from a particular family, you must take care of them. So it's just a normal thoughts, which I think has to change, or probably is changing, which I don't know. I'm not married yet.
So what I hear you say is that it's something that people do, but you think it should change, that men should not be obligated to look after their wives' families.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, please, Olarewaju and Tomisin, we want to hear from you. While you get ready, please, Jemima, go ahead.
Okay, I think I'm not married, and I don't think I'm married in the next couple of years. But then what I want to say is, like, based on what I've seen, what has been sort of mirrored for me growing up. And it's also from like just how are you coughing? And it's also from like a religious point of view, right? So when Christians marry, the idea is that, they leave their families and then they become one. So it's not, okay, that's sort of backtracking. So they become one, right? So the woman's family becomes the family of these married people. The man's family becomes the family of these married people. And so what has happened that I have seen happen a lot is that my parents don't say, oh, this is your family side, or you take care of them, or this is your family side, or take care of them. My mom takes care of my dad's nieces, nephews, cousins, uncles, grandma. My mother takes care of my dad takes care of my mother's uncles, nieces, whatever. So I think it's a joint effort. And it's one of those things that shouldn't be placed on just a man alone, because honestly, I mean, everyone has a hard in life. So why make it harder when you could partner?
All right. Thank you, Jemima, who's not going to marry in the next couple of years. Maybe, please go ahead.
Like, just like what Jemima said, when two persons marry, and I feel it's something that we have to, it's a mentality that is trying to raise its head right in this generation, and it's actually bad. When two people marry, they don't just marry themselves. You don't just marry your girlfriend or your fiancé. You marry the whole family, and it's true. You should you might not be able to take care of your wife's family, but you should want to. That intention should be there, like naturally. No law or court or your father has to tell you, or the Bible has to tell you that you have to take care of your wives. You should want to, because they're almost like your own parents. Imagine if your wife's parents are suffering and you are enjoying with your wife. Like, it's impossible. You will not be happy. I don't know, but personally, I don't feel my house would be fine. Like, just me and my wife enjoying our life, whereas their parents are using firewood to cook. No.
Thank you. All right. Lastly, Mia. Is it Mia or Maya? It's Mia. Maya.
Maya.
I'm sorry.
Hi,
Sorry.
Lola. Good morning.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Yeah, so I really agree with baby. So I think maybe so, you know, this poverty alleviation scheme that people do now, that once they see a rich husband, a rich wife, they just forget about the person's family, because the point of the marriage wasn't to become one with the woman, it was to, or with the man, it was to run away from everything that looked like their background, their history, and just start a new life. Like literally jackpot, but still in the same country. Yeah. And so I think that kind of mindset can make you not be motivated to do anything like that. I really agree with maybe when he says, and you know, if you're a Christian, scripture talks about how that when you are joined with your wife, you become one, literally. I don't know what it says in the other religions, but that's the deal. You have become one flesh. And so one flesh means that her mom is literally your mom. Her dad is literally your dad. Like the siblings are your siblings. So the way you take care of your family, if you do, is the same way that you should take care of her family. And if you truly love this person, you would want to be a part of everything that concerns this person. You want to see everything that this person has affiliations with. You want to see it bloom. I mean, and so this guy is just amazing. And so if you have regard for the person and the person's family, it also strengthens your bond. Imagine liking a guy and he does not regard your dad, and you hold your dad in high esteem. You would never say, yes, I will marry you to that kind of guy. You have to really be a pinkusin to do that. Do you get? So I think even from the dating and all that, she should or he should already know that, okay, this person doesn't rate my people. This guy will suffer my family, or this guy will suffer me. People have the notion that you shouldn't need to take care of your spouse's family, because I mean, they should be able to have their own money, they should be able to take care of. That's why rich people would want to go for rich people, because they don't want to be spending on themselves, their children, and spending on the children of another person and all. But I really think that when you get married, you have gotten married to the person's family too. Yes, they say it's African, but it's true. And so if you don't want to have to pay plenty school fees, maybe you should look for an only child or something. But really, you need to take care of the family that you got married to. That's what I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Maya. Now we've made Mr. Olanrewaju come outside. Please, sir, the floor is yours.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Just Aya called me out, so I think that I would speak. And I would speak with the first thing that I actually said, which is that wisdom is necessary or something. Also, I believe that this is a very, very relative topic. But I really want to challenge everyone that says things like you need to take care of your spouse's family, and them saying it as an obligation, quote and unquote. Like I'm hearing things like even pay school fees of like your wife's siblings or your husband's siblings and things like that. And then just as I said, take care of all their financial needs. Maybe that's what it was in the past. But I think things are changing. And especially when you're also getting married into a family where they are forward thinking, if I would say that. What I mean by that is they are not going to be asking you you're not the government that has come to take away all the poverty from them. So why I say it's relative is the situations will differ. I'll give you an example. If I am the biggest boy in town, if I become the governor of Lagos today and I begin to embezzle all the funds, right? It's fine if my mother-in-law have expectations like I should be able to do XYZ things for them, right? But not when we are both buying fuel at 617 naira per liter, and you're expecting me to. What I'm saying in summary is, when you get married, you want to love your in-laws and the families the same way you love your parents. And I'm not even saying for a man, even for the woman as well. So there are certain things that you would want to do for them out of the love that you have. The same way when I see my own parents and I see a need, if I can meet the need, I will meet the need. So the same thing for my in-laws. When I see a need, if I can meet the need, I will meet the need. But I want to say that I'll have issues when my in-laws now think that every time they have a need, it is my responsibility to fulfill that need, regardless of whatever my own needs are. I think that there's going to be which is why I think they said wisdom is necessary. So I don't necessarily subscribe to that school of thought that you must do those things. No, I mean, no, and I'm at least maybe close to 1 year in, 6 months in, I've not had such issues. We've found a way to find a balance. So I'm not paying, I'm not rebuilding your house or paying all your grandchildren's school fees. No, I'm not doing that. Anyway.
All right. Thank you, guys. Wow, we've actually really debated this topic a bit more than I expected. But yeah, everybody is saying what they think. Meanwhile, Babatunde is in the chat saying, please, can we be realistic? I don't know what that means, but all right. So we're moving to love versus practicality. I was saying that is Maya, can you ask your question in chat, please? Because I'm trying to wrap up on this topic. So is Ola's mom justified in her impatience with Kingsley? I think we've talked about that. Some people say yes, she's justified. Okay. But another thing I want to look at, another angle that I'd like to explore is it possible that Ola's mom's heartache is the reason for her deprioritizing love and choosing to be practical instead? All right, Babatunde, please take the floor. Babatunde is not here. Okay, hi
Hello,
Maya.
hello, can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, we can hear you now.
No, I'm not actually talking about the current question you just asked. I'm just talking about the issue Larry just talked about. Why I say we need to be realistic, and be honest. I've been married for like 2-3 years now, and I know it is in this current Nigerian situation, and for you now to manage your wife's family. To be very honest, like my wife now, she has like 6 siblings. Are you saying I'm going to manage or fund their own school fees and all of those things? See, you might love your family, your wife's family, but there's a limit to what you can do. I always be honest with them. Little I can do, I will do. Just let me know if I can do it, I will do it. But if I can't, almost, we just need to, I will just push it to just speak to them. That is me. I can't force myself. And in short, I know how much I'm earning. I don't have to inconvenience myself just to satisfy my wife's family. Even my own family is suffering from that. So please, let's just be realistic about the whole thing. Thanks.
Thanks, Babatunde. Hi Maya.
Hi, Lola. So my question was that what of those guys that, because we're looking at the whole taking care of your spouse's family, those people that are benefiting from the affluence and the wealth of the families they married into, those people would almost never say no to the 10 million, 20 million that daddy is sending to, for, do you get, I think that they can fall into the same category. That's also a conversation too. Oh yeah, I'm done.
Thank you. Okay, I will just encourage all of us to talk more in the chat because we still have a bit to cover. I asked the question, I haven't really heard any responses. Is it possible that Ola's mom is deprioritizing love because of her heartache? Could that be the reason for her outlook?
So I'll
Okay,
say,
okay.
Okay. Sorry, let someone go. Someone raise their hand.
No, go ahead, Ayotunde.
So I'd say back in the days, right? It didn't used to be around love. It was tricky. It was more functionality in a sense, right? And functionality is you are betrothed to somebody, or this guy is doing well. The love just almost is secondary, right? You will love the person when you get him, right? It was more about the pride of a woman was to get married and have kids, right? Typically. And so maybe her mother saw it like that, right? So even despite the fact that she went through something traumatic, should have seen it as maybe it's just life that, is what life has to offer. And then her daughter must get married to a guy, and the guy should take care of, her siblings. So I think it was more functionality and practicality than love.
Thank you, Ayotunde. So I'm expecting Vincent and Maya's take in the chat. So basically what I'm hearing some of us say that she's, probably suffering from some form of PTSD to make sure that her daughter doesn't go through what she went through. And that's fair enough. Next slide, please. Oh, maybe he's a lover boy. Oh, come on. All right. Would you marry someone your parents is not okay with? Would you marry someone your parents is not okay with? I mean, Ola's mom is not exactly Kingsley's biggest fan. So, I mean, Ola is not, she's also giving him the cold shoulder. So we don't even know what's going on with them. But for us, how would you make that decision? Maya says, a lot of parents have seen shege in this life and they will not allow their children go through same. All right. But I want to know, would you marry someone that your parents, is not okay with? Nobody wants to tell us their own personal views. Or let me say, would you advise someone to marry? If you cannot even tell us what you do, what would you advise? Would you advise someone to marry someone that their parents doesn't really accept?
So let me quickly take a stab at it so that we're also conversant of time. I would not advise it, but again, you need to give context, enough context, right, in the conversation, right? If your parents don't support a marriage, outside of the extreme context, right, it's not advisable to go along with that marriage. First of all, they won't give you their blessing. The second part is, or the third part is, I read a book, even though it was a religious book, it was a Christian book, right? A lady came to visit a man, or came to visit the parents of the man she was intending to get married, and the father just clearly outrightly said no, that there's just something about her, right? There's another part of that book that I think I read that I think one of the parents, I think the father was blind, right? And then he said no, right? There's as long as you have your interest at heart, so maybe that should be the underlying factor, right? If they advise against it, again, I know parents back in the days used to give enough context, like the generation of nowadays, we have to explain everything, you know. So which is why a lot of children will still go ahead and do what they want to do. But as long as those things are, the foundation is conversant, the parents love you, the parents have your best in our hearts, I would advise against it. But again, context.
Thank you. So there's context that plays a role. Hi Maya, I think your hand is still up.
Hi Lola. Yes, sorry. My hand was up by default, but let me just say, so I agree with I really do. I think maybe two things stand out for me. First off, like Tunde said, knowing my parents, knowing that they love me, they have my best interest at heart, it might make me think about it if they don't like the person I want to marry. Because that blessing struggle is a crazy struggle. Like having to fight your family because of somebody, it's too difficult a struggle to go through. However, I also think that your family should be able to respect your decisions, and it comes with a price. I think the price is, over time, they've seen you make the right decisions. Like they've seen you, even things that they don't agree with, they've seen it work out fine for you. And so if you pick somebody that they don't necessarily like, and like the example that Ayotunde gave, not necessarily because she looks slutty or she dressed like a prostitute to the house, or she looks like somebody that practices dark magic or anything, but she just doesn't look like their profile of what your kind of wife should look like. Maybe money or something. Maybe she doesn't have money. She doesn't look classy, something like that. I think those kind of things can be ignored. Of course, with a little what's the word? A little the word is not cajoling, persuasion. No, the word is not persuasion.
Patronizing.
Yes, that's the word I was looking for. But you get a little Robin of the head patronage, because they're not very core. They're not very they're not things that you can. They're not things that you can't overlook. But if it's difficult, hardcore conversations like maybe religion, manner of demeanor, I think maybe those are some things that you can think about. But yeah, those are my thoughts.
Maya.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Safiyyah.
Thank you so much. Maybe let's hear you in the chat. We're almost out of time. So let me see. I'm so sorry. I want to hear from you, but I have to move ahead. All right, so we saw another scenario of patience running out. The first scenario was when the husband, Ola's mom's husband's patience ran out because she didn't have a male child. And then we actually get to learn that Kingsley was actually the only child for the first 5 years in his parents' marriage. And his mom actually sort of suffered at the hands of her in-laws, right? And I was going to ask that, what does our in-laws treatment say about our societal views? But I think that's something that we can think about in our private time. So next slide, we meet Uncle Boniface, right? That's Kingsley's mom's half-brother. Poor academic performance.
Please let them talk. We'll stretch it for another 10 minutes. Right. If you
okay.
To go, yeah.
Oh, thank you. Okay, if that's okay with everyone. All right. I think Tomisi had his hand up. Okay, please go ahead, Tomisi.
All right, thank you. I think the topic or the conversation is very, interesting. It has to stretch. So parents' opinion, right, when it comes to marriage, yeah, is very vital. And at the same time, it can also be very tricky. Parents also sort of have some type of, kind of people in their mind they expect you to marry, right? So for the even the mid-level people, right, they expect a certain type of lady you bring home, from even when it comes to cultural backgrounds, right? You find out that most times there's a lot of tribalism when it comes to settling down, and most times it comes from the parents, right? Which is very bad, which is very wrong. I've never seen a Nigerian person bring home an Indian person based on you've been watching too many Indian films, right? And say you want to settle down with these people, and your people think, taboo. You left all the people in your own, country, and they decided to go out there, right? These things need to change, right? But at the same time, the other part, or the advantage rather, where the parents' role is very vital is the spiritual aspect, right? Most times they try to want to consult some alpha, consult some pastors, go spiritual, and try to help be sure that your union is with the right person, right? And we can't really rule it out. But the question is, can't we also do these things ourselves? Why do we always have to rely on them? They are doing their own part because they want to avoid generational dysfunct or generational problems so that everything plays out fine. So you can't really rule out their role or their decision. However, we should also try to reason with them and not follow, she has a fine skin or whatever, because these things will always fade out, right? They are giving you experiences that they want you to learn from, right? Rather than fall in the same trap and most times you find out that many of these are parents, because of the kind of lifestyle they've also lived, in the time past, they are trying to help you, navigate your life in a path where you don't fall in the same mistakes. So those are the things that, I think parents, why parents are very vital in these things. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas, in giving us another married man perspective. Well, I can see, that makes a lot of sense. I don't know if anybody else, okay, we don't have any hands raised. So are we okay to move on to another part of the discussion? Okay, Maya says, I think they believe they find a neutral view. They have not yet been bitten by whatever bug you were. All right. So, now we are at the point where Kingsley is, tired of his situation and he decides he must find a solution. So he remembers that there's a flyer of a church that he was given, Revival Now or Never Ministry. So he goes to this Pentecostal church, and guess what? Somebody beside him is eating boiled egg again. I don't know if the author likes boiled egg. I was just like, what is it with boiled egg? Like, I don't know. When you enter bus, do you actually encounter like this? I don't know. I haven't. They could eat buns or something that has egg in it, but not like just outright egg. I think they said egg was a thing then. Maya has seen it. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, so it was a very, interesting experience for Kingsley. He thought that, okay, the church probably has a solution to his financial troubles. Next slide, please. And then Genge, he heard something from the preacher. My brothers and sisters, verily I say unto you, in this world, all that really matters is Jesus. Forget about money. Forget about fame. Forget about all that this world has to offer. All you need to focus on is making heaven. Nothing else is important. So I can tell you that Kingsley was not excited to hear this response. The pastor was criticizing materialism, and that was not what Kingsley had expected. These values did not reflect his current priorities. So he went home and discarded the flyer. So I think in the subsequent chapters, we're going to learn more about Kingsley's search for money. Yeah. So that's that about that. So I just want to ask, to round up, next slide. Excuse me. I don't know if anybody has any closing thoughts. What struck you the most about these chapters? Even if you did not read it, even just from our conversation today, what struck you the most? What is your takeaway, or what are you really, what's on your mind?
So I would say resilience. Resilience on the part of Kingsley. Resilience in the fact that he's facing imminent breakfast. Sorry, please hold on. Okay. He's facing imminent breakfasts, right, from Ola, right? But he's looking for every means possible to make things happen, right? One of the things, first of all, is he wants to get his girlfriend back, goes to see his mother-in-law, potential mother-in-law, to see what could possibly be the problem. Also going to church to find out how he can solve his dysfunction, as it were, in life, right? Job, girlfriend, everything in life. So yeah.
Thank you, Ayotunde. Tomisin said, if you know work, you know good job. So that's what he said. Maybe said he's a good husband material. Oh, we'll find out. We'll find out more about Kingsley. And I have to tell you, there is something about 419 coming up for Kingsley. So I really encourage us to read this book. It's not bad at all. Thank you so much for your time. If there are no other comments or questions, that brings us to the end of this session. I wish you a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much, Safiyyah. Thank you everyone that contributed. Thank you for staying 6 extra minutes. I think it was worth it. Guys, please let's read the book, find it. I'm sure somebody has it. You can get a copy some way, somehow, some whatever the other adjective is. All right, thank you everyone. See you guys at Feel Good Friday. It promises to be interesting. We have Velma. We have Velma. I'll just say that. We have Velma, Lydia, and Ulu. Sorry. Yeah. All right, guys. See you at 4 o'clock. I Feel Good Friday. Bye.